Yeah, today was a pretty crazy day in the NBA. So, let me first get started off. Steph had a pretty good game today, but I seen a really interesting stat on ESPN. Steph and Jokic, they became the first duo of players to drop 50 or more, 10 and more rebounds, 5 and more assists on the same day. And the last time that was done was like 60 years ago. So, that's one of those like not give a crap stats that like kind of caught my mind. But anyway, this video is about Jokic. Superhuman performance. The last time I seen a 60-point triple double, I didn't get to watch Luka's. I watched like part of it, but I didn't get to see the full game. The last time I seen that was James Harden. So to watch Jokic do it tonight, it was just crazy. But yeah, 61, 10 and 10, 2 steals, 18 of 29 shooting, 6 of 11 from 3, 19 free throws. Balled out. Like, this is what, like, Jokic, Shea, yes, he's having a great season, but, like, I genuinely feel like Jokic, even though it's voted for T, he deserves the MVP this year because, I mean, this is not only his second 50-plus point performance this season. Without Jokic, the Nuggets would not be anywhere near the top of the Western Conference as they are right now without Jokic. I generally think the Thunder, if they didn't have Shea, if Shea was on a different team or if he wasn't there, the Thunder would still be, a playoff team because they have pretty good depth around Shea. Without Jokic, the Nuggets are not going to be where they're at right now. So, just to talk about this game, let's just get out the room. Russell Westbrook. Now, I seen Shaq on the post-game show have an interesting take. If you're going to commit to scoring the ball after a steal like that, instead of dribbling out the clock, dunk it. And Russell Westbrook, he has enough hops to dunk it. Like, you shouldn't have blown that layup. Yes, the Wolves would have still had a chance to tie the game because they would have been up by 3. But, I mean, you can't miss, like, how you miss that bad? All you gotta do is hit the square, my man. And then to get the foul on the other end, like I love Russell Westbrook, but, plays like that, he does some boneheaded plays sometimes. And, even the most passionate Westbrook fans, you have to admit, like, it's boneheaded. Like, he shouldn't have done that. The most logical thing he should have done was just dribble the ball out and, get fouled, get free throws, get a stop, and, game over. Instead of fouling Nikola Alexander-Walker in the corner and he games you. On top of Nikola Alexander-Walker, he played like his cousin tonight. He hit 5 threes, had 26 points off the bench, and, he was just balling out. And there's a couple of players I want to talk about. Aaron Gordon, he had 38 and 5 tonight, and, this season he's really shown the ability to just step up when there's no scoring going on currently. Like, they didn't have Jamal Murray and they didn't have Michael Porter Jr. tonight. Usually when Jokic is out the game, they would usually have Murray inside the game, and he's going to be your bucket getter. And you could clearly tell that they were missing Jamal Murray tonight because their offense just looked so stagnant without Jokic in the game. And Gordon, he took up that scoring role, and he actually got the points tonight that they needed, and he kept them in the game. He hit 2 huge threes in the fourth quarter and overtime, I believe. 2 huge big threes that kept them in the game. And his 3-point shots really came a long way. He's shooting, I think, over 40% from 3 this year, and he's really showing the ability that he has to impact the game. Rudy Gobert, he fouled out the game, but he played very solid tonight. Like, I know people, they like to hate on Rudy and stuff, but he's a really good defensive player. Yes, he fouled out, but that just goes to show like how great Jokic is. Rudy Gobert had to use all his 6 fouls, and Jokic still went off for a 60-point triple double. Like, players like Jokic, you just can't stop them. You can only minimize them. And Rudy Gobert, he did a solid job at trying to get the ball out of Jokic's hands, and he did his part in doing that. But he played really solid tonight. 19 and 12, nice double-double. He's been scoring double-doubles recently. And when Rudy Gobert scores the ball, it does a lot for your team because it opens up the floor way more. And then now the defense has to see Rudy Gobert as a threat to score at the rim. Whenever he just roams around that rim and, he gets his little putbacks or whatever, it could turn into a real problem for some teams. And, the last player I want to talk about, Julius Randle. Now, I'm not really the fondest fan of Julius Randle. I've always said he's a shot chucker. And I guess over these past few weeks, he's actually starting to figure it out, how to play with Rudy Gobert in the paint and, how to play with Ant. The offense, he was able to get going in the first half because Ant, he only had like 10 points. Like he had 10 points going into the fourth quarter. And, Randle, he really carried that offensive load for basically the entire game. And then once Ant started to get cooking, that's when he let Ant do his thing. And if Julius Randle and Anthony Edwards can figure out, how to coexist with one another, maybe one of them's having an off night, they let the other one take over until they figure it out. If they could find that chemistry, it could really take them a long way in the playoffs. And, the Wolves tonight, they really showed, they're still a pretty dangerous team heading into the playoffs. Depending on who they match up with, they'll give you some work for real. And they really showed their defensive prowess that they had last year. They really showed how scary of a defensive matchup that they are tonight against Denver. But yeah, that's just my thoughts on the games. Let me know in the comments what y'all think. But it was just a crazy night in the NBA overall. But Jokic, he's not human, bro. He really just, words can't describe what we just watched. So yeah.